We'll be back from the break. Let's continue with more business today. Now, the Select Committee on NSSF has finally presented its report on the mismanagement of the National Social Security Fund, and it's bad news for the Minister for Gender, Honorable Betty Amongi, as the report recommends that she resigns for public interests. Now, the report also implicated that the former manager, Richard Byarugaba, and the acting manager, Patrick Ayota, who were found guilty, should have been told to step aside. Let's have more with Samla Hanifa.
The chairperson for the Select Committee, Honorable Mwini Mpaka, started by giving the findings of the investigations into the mismanagement of the NSSF Fund, which singled out the Minister for Gender, Labour and Social Development as the biggest offender in this whole saga.
The actions of the Minister of Gender, Labour and Social Development, Honorable Betty Amongi Ongom, in directing 6 billion to be availed to her ministry amounts to the abuse of office, since the Minister, being the supervisor of NSF without any law empowering her to do so, and knowing that the ministry activities are financed through appropriation, did an act which is prejudicial to the savers' funds and the just administration of the NSSF. The actions of the Minister are arbitrary and an abuse of office of the duty under the NSSF Act, thereby bringing her conduct within the ambit of the prohibition under Section 11 of the Anti-Corruption Act on abuse of office.
According to Honorable Mwini Mpaka, Minister Amongi abused her power when she allocated 6 billion shillings from the fund to do activities of the Ministry of Gender, yet the Parliament appropriates money for each ministry, and hence the committee recommended that the minister in question resigns in public interest.
The committee therefore recommends that the Minister of Gender, Labour and Social Development, Honorable Betty Amongi Ongom, resigns in public interest with immediate effect. We further recommend that the President should take keen interest in the Minister's conduct above.
The same report has also implicated the former manager for NSSF, Richard Byarugaba, and the acting manager, Patrick Ayota, for allocating 1.8 billion shillings for the social corporate responsibility, and recommended that this should step aside for immediate prosecution.
To make donations as an investment for stakeholders, the committee notes that their justification of succumbing to pressure to commit an illegality is no defense in criminal liability. The committee therefore recommends that the NSSF management that participated in the initiation of this 1.8 billion budget for donations, much as they did not participate in the final approval, Mr. Richard Byarugaba, the Deputy Managing Director, Mr. Patrick Ayota, the CFO, Mr. Stevens Mwanje, Head of Marketing and Corporate Affairs, Ms. Barbara Arimi Teddy, should step aside with immediate effect for investigations by the Office of the IGG for the offences of abuse of office, corruption, conspiracy to commit a felony, with a view of immediate prosecution.
Speaker of Parliament Anita Mong has pushed the debate for this report to tomorrow afternoon. Samlanifa, Smart 24 TV, Business Today.
Right now, off to South Africa, as President Museveni and the South African President Cyril Ramaphosa have agreed on trade growth. While at the one-day state visit in South Africa, President Yoweri Museveni expressed commitment for trade growth as Uganda and South Africa move to strengthen cooperation intended to spur economic growth and register revenues surpassing $130 million that were recorded last year. In the same spirit, South Africa's President Cyril Ramaphosa emphasized the establishment of Ugandan companies to oversee the investment goals in return. This was expressed yesterday as the Uganda-South Africa Business Summit transpires.
This is my proposal, that you start with looking at import substitution, and then there is the what you can export back to South Africa, so that, because some of the things you can export back to South Africa. And then thirdly, what can be exported to third-party markets, like the AGOA market, like the European Union market, like the Chinese market. In that way, business decisions are clear, because if something is already being sold in Uganda, you are sure of the market.
When it comes to investment, we share a common aspiration to see more South African companies in Uganda and more Ugandan companies in South Africa. South African corporations such as Absa, Stenbic, MultiChoice, MTN, Woolworths, Eskom, and IDC all have a footprint in Uganda. We are proud that they add tremendous value to the national economy, but more importantly also to the tax base of Uganda.
All right, now let's get into our coffee court discussions this evening. For years, the Afro-Arab Youth Council has offered support for youth activities in various areas of voluntary humanitarian work, employment opportunities, and more. The council has also created relations and membership with various global, regional, and national youth organizations. And today in the Coffee Court, we look at some of the achievements and the goals of the Arab Youth Council.
Now, youth councils play a significant role for any country. They help engage the youth with what is happening in their nations. And as we all know, the youth are the future of tomorrow. With me is Dr. Abbas Agaba, the Secretary General of Afro-Arab Council, who is going to be talking to us about their niche, their mandate, and what they have done so far in regards to wealth creation. You're welcome to the show.
Thank you very much.
So I'd like to know, what is the mandate, first of all, of Afro-Arab Youth Council? How did it come about? What is the story about it?
Thank you. Briefly, and for those listening to us or watching us, 2004, there was a meeting in Khartoum in which Uganda participated. Our delegation here was led by the current Minister for Rural Triangle, the Honorable Alice Kavoyo. Then we were exiting from school. We had a meeting of over 3,000, 4,000 young people, black, African, Arab, called Auspices of the Leadership then, just to have young people meet together and also share ideas, talk about their localities, talk about their challenges, and try to devise means of how to move forward. But there was a mark on the 9th of March, because the last African and Arab summit for presidents of countries, of the African and Arab countries, had last been held on 9th March, I think in Iraq or somewhere. So in the memory of that day, we gathered for that period, and when we concluded, we formed what we call the African and Arab Youth Council to push forward the resolutions we made in that meeting, to see how we create space for interaction for young people of the African and Arab setting, and also push further the agenda. So we formed an executive committee. Uganda then was a coordination for East Africa, but in 2006 we took center stage as vice president of the African and Arab Youth Council, initially hosted in Khartoum by auspices of the Khartoum government, until 2008, when we had a very big meeting here. Part of the pictures you saw in the office that brought Gaddafi here and others. The resolution was made to have the international headquarters of this council in Uganda, to give it a permanent home.
Why?
That the
Why
organization
Uganda of all
can stay.
countries?
Strategically, hosting these young people, over 5,000 of them, by the side of Lake Victoria, had much influence on this decision, I think. But also the good leadership, the friendly welcome of the people of Uganda, the support by the president. He really was deeply involved, practically, personally, and the ministers and others. We treated them well. And part of the resolution was say, hey, hold a minute. We are happy. We have been hosted in Khartoum. We had a secretariat there. But now we would like to come and settle here in Uganda and put up a big office, a big headquarters, so that the organization has a permanent home. That time also the president, our President Yoweri Museveni, became the patron of the organization, receiving the power from President Gaddafi that time.
I would like to, maybe in that particular regard, I do know that you have about 50 acres of land,
Yes,
in which you intend to build a convention center worth $200 billion.
Yes.
Please give us an update about that in regards to its development, the status quo of it, who it is intended for, and what we need to know about it.
Very good. The conclusion of this meeting and the decision here, in his speech, the president of Uganda, one was happy that the youth had decided by themselves to host their organization here, and as a president, as he receives the powers as patron, said, no, we'll give you land worth the headquarters you want to put up. So President Gaddafi pledged to support with funding, and also the other presidents of the Afro-Arab Youth Council member states. 2010, when we would be taking center stage, as you may all remember, we had the Arab Spring, and a lot went into that. Many of our operations were destabilized, and that was a period of really disturbances. We were hanging in Uganda, in Morocco, in Egypt a bit, for those countries that did not have, that either quickly recovered from the Arab Spring or that hadn't experienced the Arab Spring at all. And we are grateful that our organization kept hanging during that time. So 2019, in Feb, we were able to meet the president and brief him about the organization and where it's been surviving. He was very magnanimous, and in his statement he said that in Africa, in African traditions, when your brother dies and leaves his children with you, if you fail to take care of them when you can, it's an abomination. True. I think somehow it referred to the situation we are in. He directed that we be offered this secretariat where we are housed, and directed that the land be given to us, the 50 acres, such that we start up the mobilization for the
maybe to pause
project.
You there. Why did it take so long for this? Because it is recent that they announced that we are given that land around last year, and yet that was just then.
No, 2019 when we met him, you know when you find a patient, you resuscitate them with first aid. Okay. So first we settled in, then we were able now to follow up with our mandate. We settled in as secretariat, appointed staff to do the basic work, engaged a number of consultants here and there, but his guidance was that we should be given land within a radius of 15 miles. So initially, Nakauka had land for government, KCCA. The people of Nakauka, they rejected the purpose of the land, that was the dumping by KCCA. But not only did they reject the purpose, but also took up the land. So there's no land there. And it falls almost exactly within that radius. So it's been looking around and finding out. But finally, we are able to settle there. We will be doing about 5 projects on that land. And our intention is to make what we call the Afro-Arab Youth Council village in that side of the country. We are very sure, we are optimistic that when we settle there, we will attract most of these offices that are being housed in Kampala to come and stay that side, because Kampala is very crowded for everybody. And we thank the president for his wise choice. He said, go and be located 15 miles radius outside town, such that you sit and do a lot of good work there. We are putting up an office block there. We are putting up a stadium, a sports stadium. And we have some of our member countries showing interest in some of these. We are putting up a cultural heritage center modeled on the background of the Egyptian Museum for Cultural Civilization. For those who have seen it, it's really very beautiful. You know, Egyptians used to bury their kings in the pyramids, but they bury them with a lot of regalia and a lot of wealth. They go with gold, go with what, everything, because they think they go in the next world with them. Now, I think people became sharper and they began taking some of those things. And there was a worry that they might even take the kings, but they have been mummified. So all of them, many of them are now in that museum. When you visit it, it's good, but that's the model that we are looking at. And some of the countries are also showing interest in that one. We want to put up a hotel of good standing, with some other recreational facilities there, and also put up a university, a skills building university and medical school together, such that initially it was a leadership and governance school or university that was conceived. But over time, we have improved it to say, I think the best is to create this. Now, all this creates opportunities, yes, for Uganda, but also for the rest of the youth. We are here, I'll tell you ahead of time of where we are lobbying for scholarships. But now, if we have that university, skills building university and medical school created there, then we can have our youth from the Afro-Arab Youth Council member countries coming to study on scholarship.
Okay.
Of course, the outsiders will not study on scholarship before Uganda's benefit. But
right.
Just, I would like you to juxtapose our thoughts, even for those who are watching us, that you have Afro-Arab Youth Council Village containing these 5 big projects. Of course, it's employment for young people, big time, and a number of opportunities for them to pick up. So we intend, we are ready to start. After the anniversary celebrations, the 19 years of AYC, we want to see, because the executive committee will be here by about 4th, when we do the first activity, but people will be here and then we'll go through them. So this where we are, this where we are thinking. We have been engaged. What's the council about? When we met in Khartoum and agreed to push this mandate forward, what was the intention? We thought the Afro-Arab Youth Council should deal with issues happening commonly among the African and Arab countries: migrations and their causes, wars, HIV/AIDS, poverty, etc. How do we make sure that young people participate in the governance of their countries? How do we make sure that young people share opportunities? There are those we call offshore jobs in the developed countries. If the industrialized Morocco has offshore jobs that young people in Uganda can do, that's why as part of the departments we created what we call the resource center, the resource center department. The resource center department is largely looking at these engagements. We have roundtable investment forums every year. This year one will come around October, and we intend to hold it in Dubai.
Who is behind all this financing? Because you've mentioned a number of projects, and I would be, curious to know who is behind the financing.
The patron finances the best performance of the secretariat. Now, outside the secretariat, we have international friends. The leadership is internationally connected, and we lobby from various people. But the member countries sponsor some of these. If you host an activity, you as the host country, you take responsibility for the accommodation for the guests, the feeding, of course, and the internal transport. The guests find their tickets to that place. So somehow, in the arrangement of the organization, it is modified, it is simplified. People can come and do their work and then they go. So,
I was reading on your website and I saw that you have been able to create around 100+ jobs, like for now, and we can even expect more once this convention center is set up. I would like to know, in what avenues have you specialized and what type of youth?
Two quick things that need to be noted directly. One, we are a lobby group as Afro-Arab Youth Council. Our role is to amplify the voices of the young people. Our role is to make sure their issues are heard. We negotiate with governments. There are governments where we have negotiated for formation of youth councils, okay, where they are not, because you find the government is existing, there's no direct road through which the youth can engage with their government, but they are there. So somehow you lobby to make sure that there is provision, especially in the Arab world. Youth councils have been largely a setting of the Commonwealth, but even now the African Youth Charter has been formed, premised on this. So we have been lobbying with the Arab side also. You find there's an NGO that works for all, or an NGO that works for few. So it's a conglomeration of all. What we do when we find opportunities, we lobby for them. So even within the country, there are a number of areas we have lobbied for young people to be engaged. Even, of course, as Secretary, we provide opportunities. regularly we have volunteers, young people transitioning from school. You can volunteer here for about a year as we train you, as we groom you, then you build your skills. If a job falls vacant and you're here, we give it to you. But even when you leave without, even if a job doesn't fall and you have gone through us, there are opportunities you can pick up from here to in other countries, those we are dealing with directly. We have had engagement with some universities in Morocco and some universities in Egypt to try and lobby for scholarly opportunities, masters, PhDs, even bachelors, such that as a council, we create opportunities for young people. We have, of course, the other day I was telling you people, we have been an advisor of sorts. We want to lobby for employment, but more professional employment. Yes, our young people have had some issues working in the Arab world, especially those who are going as maids. The issues are not as many for those who are working at, say, construction sites, supermarkets, blah, blah, blah. But our understanding is, on a wider scale, why don't we have an exchange of jobs, real tangible jobs? I've given you an analogy.
That would make more sense. I think it would even lift the ban that are usually put in regards to this, and there's bad stories we hear about the externalization. So
something needs to be done different to improve, to mediate, or to ameliorate some of the issues in the labor export, because we are familiar with the terrain, the Arab world, we know it, and the African world, we are familiar. So something needs to be done a little different. But when our advisory is needed in writing, we'll put it such that maybe it can improve. But the point I'm making is, if Egypt or Saudi Arabia needs nurses, and they are short of nurses, and Uganda has many nurses, through this Afro-Arab Youth Council, can't we exchange this? We avail these young people the opportunity, they can work. And if Uganda needs other people that can come from elsewhere, it doesn't have to be Africa sending to the Arab world or the Arab world asking from Africa, but whenever opportunity falls and it can be taken up, why not these young people take it up? And the question I asked them the other day is that many of our women, our wives, our sisters, our daughters in Africa, when they go to deliver, they prefer male gynecologists. I don't know why. But in many of the Arab countries, I don't think an Arab woman will be very comfortable with a male gynecologist.
Yeah, because of culture norms and...
Yes, even a man, to know that a fellow man is going to deliver his wife might be a challenge. Now that they are more comfortable with female gynecologists, and we have many of those in Africa, in Nigeria, in Uganda, in Rwanda, where, or even the only countries they are producing. But if this opportunity comes, we can export those in a more formal way. Not Afro-Arab Youth Council exporting them, but Afro-Arab Youth Council searching for this opportunity and getting hold of it and saying, hey, hold a minute, there's an opportunity here that our young people can take advantage.
That's very interesting. And I would like to know, is the 9th anniversary ceremony that you're going to be having going to enlighten or highlight some of these issues that you mentioned about? Or it's something different? I saw something about healthy and wealthy youth. So
yes, the 19 years of Afro-Arab.
Yeah, yes.
We are looking at healthy youth and wealthy nations. They understand the analogies that you need to be healthy as a young person to contribute to wealth building, wealth creation in the country. And yes, we want to share some of these opportunities. We will be holding a dialogue at Kampala International University with whom we are partnering in this work, both for the dialogue and also for the health camp, because they are giving us doctors from Ishaka, from the Kampala International University Teaching Hospital in Ishaka. They will be with us to participate in the camp. So the understanding is that during the dialogue, we have invited academicians, we have invited practitioners, we have invited activists, those involved with youth. And there are those who have transformed. You see, employment is wide. We have young people in the arts industry, in the fine arts, in music, in football, etc. Talent. We want them to also have to come on the table to furnish with us. How do they make it? You know, the other day, is it Yeboah, what's his name, Anthony? One of the great footballers became president of one of the African countries. So if there's such chance, how do we share on the table? What are the opportunities available? The Millennium Development Goals, what do we tap into? How far have we gone? Where are we? What about Agenda 2063? So there will be a lot of good discussion, researchers, academicians, practitioners, people in the field. We have invited Operation Wealth Creation to come and also share with us. What do you mean by wealth creation? Yes, it relates with young people being healthy, but I think we'll have good outcomes.
Your parting remarks as we conclude this conversation.
Oh.
It was so nice that you forgot that it's okay.
No, good things end shortly.
Yeah.
First of all, we are happy that you've given us an opportunity to showcase Afro-Arab Youth Council to the world. And for those who have been following, we can visit our website, you can visit our, and understand the council more. The public, to the public, is to invite you. We have a health run on 4th. We have a health camp 5th, 6th, and 7th. We have a dialogue on 9 at Kampala International University. We have about 30 doctors from African and Arab countries who are coming to really to boost the solidarity. So grab the opportunity as it is there, and also when the project takes off, we have done 3 things: the signing of the host country agreement, the president writing to his colleagues to fundraise for the money, accession of the land. So really we are good to go, and I am happy that in our time something of this magnitude, very prospective and useful to our people, children even to come in future, is coming to Uganda in our time.
Thank you. I hope that maybe in the future you collaborate with the Investment Authority to have more of this input remaining in the economy, since we're going to be involving with the youth. That conversation, of course, will lead us to the end of Coffee Court. My key takeaway from this conversation is that they are aiming at producing or providing professional jobs, especially in these Arab countries. We have been hearing something on the contrary, something to do with the Westernization and very bad stories of our sisters there. We hope that this will be able to, speed up and create wealth, and so that it can remain in the country. As always, my name is Rona Nahabwe, and thank you for the pleasure of your time.
All right, and that brings us to the end of Business Today. But first, let's have a recap of our top stories.
In Business Today, President Museveni and Cyril Ramaphosa agree on trade growth investment summit to spur revenues beyond $130 million as of 2022. NSSF report draws line in the sand, demand for Betty Amongi's resignation over mismanagement of office. Insurance Regulatory Authority, insurers and brokers are set to realize industrial growth in annual Insurance Week endeavors.
All right, and now that brings us to the end officially of Business Today. I'm Jerome Paul Sonko with Winnie Boyinza in Sign Language. A happy new month from the entire team to you as you continue driving business with us. Till tomorrow, have a blessed night and a good evening.